Always keep your clients safe. I think the basis of a relationship is built around rapport and trust, and you can easily lose that trust if that client does not feel safe. So safety first, and making sure that your clients feel safe, both physically on the training floor, but also emotionally. So when they share something significant and important with you, you need to file that away and treat it with the respect that it deserves, not discard it and or show a reaction that perhaps breaks that trust. So number one tip is keep them safe and make sure that the trust is always there.
You're listening to episode 148 of the Fitness Business Podcast. We'd like to thank this month's premier podcast partner, OneFitStop, the complete fitness business software that's perfect for studios, gyms, and clubs. To find out more, go to onefitstop.com. Welcome back to another week of the show. This week's episode is particularly relevant for all of our personal trainers and personal training managers out there. Our guest today is Dom dos Remedios, the owner and CEO of the Personal Training Academy, one of Australia's premier fitness education providers. While his passion now lies in creating and delivering health and fitness education, Dom previously spent over a decade as the National Fitness Manager for Fitness First Australia and the National Personal Training Manager for Crunch Fitness in the US, meaning he has extensive fitness club operations experience and he understands the challenges that fitness managers, personal training managers, and personal trainers face on a day-to-day basis. In today's episode, you're going to learn how to improve your communication skills. We're going to talk about mistakes to avoid when you first meet a new client, how to identify your client's movement style, and tips on retaining your personal training clients for the long term. Before we go into this week's interview, I want to thank this month's premier podcast partner. OneFitStop's scheduling, client management, programming, and payment collection tools will set your business up for success. To find out more, go to onefitstop.com. Hey, Tom, welcome along. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we're going to be talking today a lot about personal trainer side of things. And as we all know, building rapport is an absolutely essential part in a long-term personal trainer-client relationship. So talk us through how a PT can actually start to perfect their communication skills.
Look, it's a great question. I would say, firstly, perfection's a difficult thing to strive for. So I would frame it around how they can improve their communication skills, because it's something that we are always trying to do, is just move forward. For me, effective communication is essentially about building rapport and trust, and that comes from three key things. Firstly, understanding the relationship. And by that, I mean, when clients are training with a trainer, the number one question they're asking themselves is, am I safe? So when trainers are working with clients, they need to understand, does that client feel safe? And if they do, then the basis of rapport and trust will then flow. The second tip is around understanding the primacy effect. So for those who haven't heard of that concept before, it's a cognitive bias towards initial observation or information. So it happens every time you meet someone. A very simplistic version is, think about walking into a bar, the cognitive bias people have towards people that they are attracted to or not, all comes back to the primacy effect. So the 5 keys for people to have the primacy effect work in their favor is to think about what's the intention they have. So for a PT, what are they intending to do? Are they intending to sell them a 20-pack, or are they intending to just help them one session at a time? What's the confidence level? So does that trainer come across as overly confident, not confident at all, or do they have the right level of confidence where the client's feeling safe? What's their enthusiasm? Does it match and mirror the person that they're standing in front of? What's their willingness to listen, and how are they presenting themselves? And that's probably the area most trainers are familiar with, is, do they look presentable? Are they on time, etc. So relationships, understanding, are they safe? The primacy effect, and understanding the 5 keys to have it working in their favour. And then the third thing, which for me is the most important, is understanding the skills and keys to listening. We believe at PTA Global that there's 5 levels of listening. And the first one is you're not listening, which often happens within the home. A husband and wife, one's watching the television and the other is trying to talk to them. That's simply not listening. The next level is where you pretend to listen. And again, that's probably just as dangerous. The third is when you're selectively listening. So you're actually listening for key things or key words that allow you to jump in and give your opinion. The fourth is attentive, and that's getting towards the right end of the spectrum. But the fifth level of listening is empathetic listening. And when trainers master the concept of having empathy and listening at that level 5 stage, then they will truly understand why their client is standing in front of them and how they can help them.
Dom, if we were to get those 3 elements correct in that initial kind of meeting with a new client, or the first time that you meet a new client, what's the impact of that meeting on the long-term retention of that client?
Look, it is significant. There's no doubt about it. If you get that wrong, then you're behind the proverbial 8 ball. So understanding those concepts and planning your first meeting is critical. But the good news is that if your intention is right, and during that session, if you're able to use techniques and use some things that will allow you to reset the framework of that potential relationship, then everything is very sort of recoverable, I guess. One of the concepts that we teach is around asking for feedback. So just having a willingness to listen and a willingness to seek feedback will often put your intention and set you off in very much the right foot in terms of your client trainer relationship.
You just touched on the things that we need to do to make the right impression. Do you have any examples that you can share with us of the things that we need to avoid doing in that initial meeting?
Yeah, absolutely. So, firstly, the number one mistake I used to see with trainers making was everything starts with your initial meeting and understanding that even something as simple as a confirmation call and telling your client where you're going to meet them and what to bring and what they can expect sets the framework straight away, because a lot of trainers don't realize that clients go through an emotional roller coaster before they even step foot in a typical gym or into a session. So understanding where they're coming from is critical, and reducing all the what ifs and reducing their anxiety level by having a really firm meeting place and letting them know what to expect is a great way of having them start off with the right foot forward. In terms of things like a needs analysis and actually going through some formal questioning, doing that in a quiet place where people are a little bit more inclined to open up is a really key step. So the worst place you could probably do that is on a treadmill or in the middle of the gym floor. But I've seen that done before, unfortunately. And really the last thing would be, having distractions, mobile phones, anything that's going to take you away from focusing on that client is an absolute no in my book.
Dom, I want to talk about movement style and programming, because I think both of those are really important elements. And whilst we have all of the processes that we go through in an initial session or a meeting with a client, it's important that we get those processes correct. So how does movement style and programming actually contribute to client retention?
Yeah, this is a great question. So the concept of movement style is quite a unique concept to PTA Global and our philosophy of education. The best way for me to describe this, and my go-to example, is that at home, my wife and I, Mel, have different likes and dislikes. So one of them is that Mel hates stacking the dishwasher. So when it comes to, household chores, when she stacks the dishwasher, she generally makes a lot of noise, has a frown on her face and just throws things in the dishwasher in any order. Now, that agitates me and I have to restack it. But if you take that example, that's an example of what Mel dislikes. So if you take that onto the training floor, that could mean the same thing as I hate burpees, or I hate machine-based training, or I hate cardio. So understanding people's movement style is a simple philosophy around how does someone like to move, so that I can then deliver both that idea around how can I deliver a little bit about what they want as also with what they need. And the problem where most trainers get it wrong is they try to ram down people's throats all the stuff that they need to do, and they forget about the fact that if it's not fun and people aren't engaged and aren't enjoying themselves, then they're going to check out mentally, physically, and emotionally, and they probably won't turn up to the next session. So that's a little bit around the movement style. In our philosophy, we talk to 3 different types of movement, or movement styles, I should say. The first one is something we call a traditional mover. So they like they like a lot of structure, they like a lot of routine, and they like things that are practically based. So think about known exercise, open your typical fitness magazine. There's generally a lot of traditional based movements in there, and everything in those magazines would normally resonate with a traditional mover. And think of a spectrum here. These are not boxes we're putting people into. This is a spectrum. At one end, we have traditional. At the very opposite end, we have a progressive mover. They like a lot of freedom, a lot of variety, and a lot of adventure in their workout. So think the opposite of traditional. Think they like lots of unknown movements. They like complexity in their movement, and they love the weird stuff. So hopefully in your mind, you're starting to think of all the functional training and all the new toys within the industry, things like TRX and Viper and the like. They are very much suited towards your progressive mover. And in the middle, we have people called hybrids, and as the name suggests, they like a little bit of both. So they are both traditional and progressive in nature, and they kind of sit in the middle. So this philosophy around understanding movement styles allows us to serve up and deliver exercise and movement in a way that's meaningful and engaging to that particular client. And what that does is it stops trainers from delivering the session that they gave themselves that day to their 6 clients that day and wondering why a bunch of them have checked out and or don't come back for further sessions. It's often because we tend to train people in the way that we like to move, but we forget that there are other movement styles out there. And that then directly sort of feeds into the way you program. So what we would encourage trainers to do is, for instance, I enjoy progressive movement. So it's something that I enjoy doing and have learnt to do, and it's my go-to when I'm feeling a little bit stressed or wanting to really have a good workout. So for me, I need to understand hybrid and traditional movement in more degree, because I resonate with progressive movement, but my weakness is probably the other end of the spectrum. So for me, I need to understand how traditional movers will need to be programmed, and that's something that's a skill I'm going to have to work on. So I don't know if that's answered your question, but in terms of understanding movement styles and then understanding program, if you can get those two things right, then what we would say is that you're able to physically match and emotionally attach your client to their program. And that will result in getting them to come back and see you time and time again.
So Dom, now that we've got, and thank you for describing that so succinctly, because I've got a really clear picture in my mind of those 3 different movement styles. So once we now have the understanding of that, how can a PT actually identify what their client's preferred movement style is?
So this is embedded into the education that we deliver, but we've got essentially a 1-page Mo's style guide, which I'm happy to share with the community. We can put it on the platform and people can have a look at it. And essentially, it's really around about identifying where they sit on that spectrum. So in a very simplistic way, I can ask a couple of questions for your audience to then work out what their preferred movement style is. So, and you can do this too, Chantel. So in terms of when you exercise, do you prefer structure or freedom or both? Okay. Mm-hmm. So just think about your answer there. When you exercise, do you like structure? Do you like freedom? Or do you like a little bit of both? When you exercise, do you like to follow a routine? Do you like lots of variety? Or do you like both? And then when you exercise, do you go to movements and exercises that are quite practical based or more adventure based, or a little bit of both? Now, if you answered you like structure, you like routine, and you like practical based exercises, then you are pretty much a traditional mover. On the other end of the spectrum, if you answered I like lots of freedom, I like variety, and I like an adventure, then you are a progressive mover. And if you answered that you like a bit of both to 2 or more of those questions, then you are probably a hybrid mover. So that's a very simplistic way. We have a far more detailed method through something we call the Program Design Questionnaire, or PDQ in our community, and that's a more in-depth trainer questionnaire that they ask a client, which will find out in far more detail as to what their preferred movement style is.
Now, we've talked a lot around that rapport building and that communication, and I think it's fair to say that, personal training success in either gaining or retaining clients often comes down to that communication and down to that connection that they have with an individual client. So do you want to just give us a bit of an overview? Where can PTs go to refine those sort of skills? And probably really importantly, what should PT managers be doing with their teams to enhance their communication and their connection skills with their clients?
Okay, so if any of the concepts and philosophies that we've kind of discussed today have resonated, then I would encourage your listeners to look at some of the education that we deliver here in Australia and New Zealand, or our PTA Global counterparts deliver. There's a number of courses that are very much tailored into this area. One is called Behaviour Change in Exercise. So it kind of does what it says on the box. You create behaviour change with clients through the modality of exercise. Really, really clear that we're not trying to be counsellors and we're not trying to go outside the confines of what trainers can do, but we're using exercise as a vehicle to help motivate people. So, and then there's another advanced programming course, which is around exercise and stress management, which for us makes up our 4 key systems, which are the motivation system, the movement system, the programming system, and client screening. Essentially, those are delivered in an online format, and in Australia, we have the Behaviour Change and Exercise course has 15 CECs and has about 20 hours of video content and quizzes, and our Exercise and Stress Management has about 12 hours of video and has 9 CECs with Fitness Australia. So those are great courses. They also have a 1-day workshop format or a 2-day mentorship program. So that's if some of these concepts, resonate. But outside of that, I would encourage people, particularly with the wonderful internet we have these days, I would encourage people to read, listen, and watch and search for key influences in this industry. For me, one of them is a guy called Bobby Cappuccio. So last name is spelled Cappuccio. He's actually one of our PTA Global co-founders, and he's one of the brilliant minds behind the concept of behaviour change within our community. So he does lots of little live feeds and podcasts and videos around understanding client behaviour and behaviour change. Another local guy is Craig Harper. He's also part of our community, and he does amazing stuff working with just everyday people and getting them to get off their butts and really make significant changes in their lives. Also, the concepts that we teach within our philosophy also are grounded in some concepts around NLP, but also motivational interviewing. So I would encourage listeners to Google and search around motivational interviewing techniques, because a lot of that it's really powerful stuff, and it's very simple and easy to follow, but you get amazing results when you use some of those techniques.
Oh, I need to know more about that, Dom. Just give us a little bit of a brief sneak peek about motivational interviewing.
So motivational interviewing is essentially, the types of questions you're asking people and the way you're asking them has a more meaningful impact in the way that you engage them. So, an example might be, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it for you to get the change that you've discussed with them during a needs analysis? So we'll do a question out of our PDQ, program design questionnaire. So if someone's goal is weight loss, and you found out that their movement style is they're a progressive mover, the third step in our PDQ is you'd find out what they're capable, what's their level right now. So let's say that they are what we would call lead off, which between you, me, and our listeners means they're a relatively low exercise level, and they're a little bit more of a beginner. Mm-hmm. Then we would go into the key component of the PDQ, which is motivational interviewing. So we'd ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it for you to lose weight right now? And they would give you a score. Okay, let's say they gave you a 7. You would go, okay, great. Why is it not a 5 or a 4? And if they would then have to think about, well, why did I give that score? And if it was a 5 or 4, they probably wouldn't have stepped foot in the gym. They probably would be on the couch or eating, ice cream right now. So, okay, great. If it's not a 5 or 4, but it's now a 7, well, what's going to make it an 8 or 9? And now they've got to give you information that's going to help them along their journey. Most people, it might be, if I knew I couldn't fail, it might be an 8 or 9, or if I knew I had the support network around me, or, if I had someone joining me for some of the sessions, key insight into maybe this is a great candidate for small group training or semi-private training. So the motivational interviewing techniques is about engaging people and finding out what's the motivation behind their goal and relevant to them and in the key words that they're going to use with you.
Thank you so much for diving into that, Don. Now, what about when it comes to PT managers? Are there any skills-based training, or are there any workshops that you would recommend that PT managers can do with their teams around communication and connection skills?
Look, again, it's pretty similar. I mean, sort of PT managers can certainly gain and leverage off a lot of the education that we deliver and that PTA Global delivers. I know many managers out there who have done our course, our behaviour change and exercise course, and then gone on to use the techniques and use the tools with not only their own clients but also with their own trainers. Certainly within our community and with our staff structure at PT Academy, we use the concept behind what we call our Kaizen 6 trainer self-appraisal questionnaire. Kaizen loosely translates into continuous improvement. It's a Japanese word meaning to always continuously improve. The 6 means that there's 6 simple questions. So I'm happy to share, again, this is another one of the tools that we've developed and that we use within our community. Happy to share that, and perhaps some of those questions would resonate with your managers within this community, and they're questions that they could ask, at the end of a month with a new trainer, to really find out how that trainer is going and how, more importantly, how they can help them. These questions work in everyday life, not just in the fitness environment. They're very interchangeable to any component of your life. So some example questions out of our Kaizen 6 is, what aspects of your training with me have you enjoyed the most? So from a PT manager perspective, what aspects of our personal training personal training manager client relationship have you enjoyed the most? Is there anything in particular that you're hoping I would do with you in regards to trainer development that I haven't done yet? And that's an awesome opportunity for the trainer to kind of say, yeah, well, I would love to learn more business skills, or I'd love to learn more skills around asking for referrals or whatever. And then again, using the same motivational interviewing techniques on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being really poor and 10 being fantastic. Where are you in terms of satisfaction with me and my services or my management? So those are some questions that are within our trainer appraisal questionnaire, our Kaizen 6. And again, happy to share that as a starting point with some of the managers. But really beyond that, again, they have to understand that the concepts and the education behind why these questions work. And I would definitely encourage them to seek out further learning through either structured courses such as we run or other courses that are within the community of our fitness industry, I guess.
I really like the conversation that those questions generate, Dom, because I think that it's quite easy for us to go about our day-to-day jobs and kind of tick boxes, but to actually take the time to seek feedback either from the personal trainers within our team or for the personal trainers to seek that feedback from their customers is a really important thing that we should all be doing on a regular basis. So thank you for diving into your toolkit and allowing us to have a look at some of those questions and resources that you're going to be sharing with us. So thank you so much for that. Now, we like to finish off our interviews on the show with Fitbispiration. And I'm hoping you can leave us with your top 3 tips that PTs can do to retain their personal training clients for the long term.
Okay, there's many things that we could throw in here, but I guess for me, my top 3 are always keep your clients safe. I think the basis of a relationship is built around rapport and trust, and you can easily lose that trust if that client does not feel safe. So safety first, and making sure that your clients feel safe, both physically on the training floor, but also emotionally. So when they share something significant and important with you, you need to file that away and treat it with the respect that it deserves, not discard it and or show a reaction that perhaps breaks that trust. So number 1 tip is keep them safe and make sure that the trust is always there. The second for me is around that listening that we touched on at the beginning. So practice level 5 listening. Listening is a skill. It's not something you're not a good listener. You're not. It's not genetic. It's a skill, and it's difficult these days. We have bombarded with messages. We have a thing in our pocket or on our hand called a phone all the time that's distracting us. So it's really easy to have that impact the quality of our listening. So taking time and practicing level 5 listening. Anyone who's married or has a significant other will appreciate that we're very guilty many times throughout our relationships of not adhering to level 5 listening. We're probably at best pretending or using selective listening. So So really practicing that at home and also with your clients would be tip number 2. And then tip number 3 is seek feedback. For me, the most powerful tool in our toolbox that we share at PTA Global is the Kaizen 6 questionnaire. So I would encourage trainers to never be afraid to seek and gather feedback, because at the end of the day, it shows that you're human. It shows that you're willing to grow and to improve things. And for your clients, that's a powerful message, because many trainers put themselves up onto a pedestal and become almost untouchable because of the way they look or what they've done. And that can be inspiring to some people, but others it can be very intimidating. So my advice is around seeking feedback so that you can always grow that relationship.
That is such great advice, Dom. Look, thank you very much for coming on and sharing your expertise with us today. And I think it's been really valuable to take this as an opportunity to reflect on what we currently do in our role in the industry. Perhaps there are some things that we're doing and some boxes that we're ticking, but there are areas in our own workplace that we can improve either the communication or the systems, or take on board that advice that you've given in regards to the feedback systems, in regards to the active listening. So thank you so much for coming on and joining us today. And thank you once again for sharing those resources with us. So you and I will have a chat and we'll organise to get those resources or get access to them. We'll put the details in today's show notes. So if people do want to check those out or download those resources, then please head over to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com, check out today's show, and we'll make sure that we include links in there for those resources. So once again, Dom, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Team Rockstar Fit is an award-winning mastermind team that helps fit pros lead happy and balanced lives. Get mentoring and support. Learn how to grow your business online with Beachbody. You can apply for a free consultation today at teamrockstarfit.com.
Get ready for this week's bonus segment, your extra injection of information, education, and inspiration to strengthen your fitness business.
I'm really excited to be welcoming back to the show Jaron Azen, the founder and CEO of One Fit Stop. Hey, Jaron, how are you?
Good, thanks, Chantal. How are things going?
Yeah, very, very good, thank you. Happy 2018.
And to you too, and all listeners.
Now, before we kick off and have a bit of a catch up today, I want to say thank you so much to One Fit Stop for your support, because you're joining us again as a partner in 2018. Thank you so much.
Excited to be here and spend another year together.
Now, you guys had a pretty massive 2017, but tell us what's coming up for you in 2018.
2018 for us is a year where we're leveraging where we were in 2017, focusing on supporting boutique fitness providers and studios in the industry, and now moving to more advanced and high-end enterprise tools to support boutique enterprise and multi-location facilities across the globe. And so we are really getting advanced with our tools and reporting and access controls, everything that enterprise boutiques are going to look for, what we still continue to focus on all the essential tools for all operators, sole traders, fitness professionals, and single location boutiques in the industry.
That sounds really exciting. Now, are we going to be seeing you guys at any events throughout the year or anything like that?
Definitely. We're going to be at URSA, so you'll see us walking around, and so we'll come say hi, and we'll be at the meetup again, definitely, and so we'll see all the Fitness Business Podcast fans there, and definitely at Idea World, we'll have a booth again, so come visit us then.
Oh, that is sensational. Well, I will be seeing you at URSA for sure, and I'm so excited about that meetup walk. It was such a great one that we had in 2017 here in Sydney for Filex, and we're doing our very first FBP meetup at URSA coming up this year. So that's going to be really exciting. Well, look, I want to say thank you for jumping on once again. As I said, thank you for your support for another year.
Definitely exciting year ahead, and make sure that you come to our website, onefitstop.com, and get in contact with us so that we can help and learn more about your business and support you in your growth journeys and operations in the industry.
That is fantastic. Well, Jaron, it was lovely to catch up with you, and look forward to chatting to you again soon.
Thanks, Chantal.
In case you haven't heard the news, we have launched a new page on the website called hashtag FBP Family Discounts. This page is full of great discounts and offers for products and services from all of our wonderful podcast partners and suppliers from the fitness industry all across the world. You can go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/discounts to see all the great offers that are available. So one more time, that is fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/discounts.
Precore Quickfire 5.
This week's Precore Quickfire 5 guest is keynote speaker and presenter Greg Seller. Greg, a very warm welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast.
Well, thanks for having me on this not so warm day.
Yeah. Now, we are going to kick things off with a Precore Quickfire 5. Do you want to tell everyone, why do you do what you do?
I do what I do because I think it has the ability for real change.
And what's one ritual that helps you become better at what you do?
Reading. If I can read, it's like building an army behind me of stuff that I know.
And what's one app or system that you use to stay in control of your workload?
Well, I use lots of apps, but when it comes to workload, I actually don't use any. My iCalendar on my Mac is my godsend.
And what's one book, podcast, or blog that you'd recommend and why?
Mindset by Carol Dweck. She's a Stanford University professor who does a lot of work on mindset. Changed my life.
And that is right up your alley as far as topic is concerned, isn't it? Mindset. So we're going to be talking a little bit more. So tell us, what topic are we going to be focusing on in your main interview next week?
I think behavior change, thinking and behavior change, and how it's the missing link in us as an industry achieving long-lasting change, better retention, and why we're not connecting with people who have nothing and want nothing to do with us as an industry.
You know what, Greg, I'm really looking forward to talking about this topic, and I think our timing couldn't be better. I purposely wanted to get you on at the start of 2018 to talk about this because I think it's going to be very, very relevant for our audience. So I look forward to welcoming you back to the show next week.
Great. Talk to you then.
Before we finish off today, a reminder that all the resources, links, and transcript for today's show can be found at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Thanks to all of our partners for their support and our foundation partner, Active Management. Go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/active for a free business development ebook. Thank you for joining me for another week of the show. I'll see you next week, and remember, what you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.